Alrighty, we're continuing with JavaScript. We're going to create a button today that changes our color. Let's see how it works. So let's go back to our website, and we had created a JavaScript file that has, this is just a CSS property essentially. We're setting our body tags, style, CSS style. So we're looking at the body tag, we're setting it CSS style, background color to whatever we want. Let's create something else on our HTML. In the body page, my favorite video game franchises, let's add, after the home button, let's create a button tag to the best of our ability. Let's create a new button. So if I was to write button, and I say test button, and I save that, let's refresh, and now I have a button on my HTML page. So that button is going to let us do some beautiful things. We can attach this button to our JavaScript code. We're going to tell our JavaScript code to tell this button to change our colors. Let's try that now. Let's try that now. So let's do style, margin. We could do CSS properties for that button. Let's just add an event listener. So let's go to our code, and we're just going to write a line of JavaScript code that's going to add a event to all buttons. So I'll say this. I'm going to say button. So the same way we said body here, we're going to now say button. We're going to look for, wait, let me make sure this is still working. The same way we said body here, we're going to look for the button. So this is the button tag, and we're going to add an event listener. An event is something that causes JavaScript code to run. JavaScript code is dynamic. It lets us change what our website looks like. An event tells the computer, when should we run this JavaScript code? This is very complicated. It's okay if you don't super understand. Let's just copy what I'm doing. We have a button. We're going to add an event to that button. That event, we'll call it, okay, yeah, the event is going to be when we click on the button. So we're going to write the word click. And when we click on the button, it's going to run a function. Now, the function that this button is going to run is going to be to change our background color. So now we have code like this. Let's say I do blue. So now I refresh. I don't have a background color, and when I click this button, if everything is working correctly, which it's not, because I need to close this, I need to put another symbol at the end here. Now it's working correctly. Uh-oh, it's not working correctly. Ugh. Button.add event listener. No, I need a reference to the button. So I need to create a const. So, okay, so we're creating a button right now, const button, and then we're going to get element by ID, and then we'll just say const button equals document dot get element by tag name, and we'll just say button. And now we'll try it. And it still doesn't work. Ugh. Get elements by tag name button 0, like the A I wanted me to do. Okay, I have to put a 0 here apparently. Okay. Sorry, I added one more thing. I created this const button. It turns out this button here wasn't actually a reference to the button. I had to create this button reference. So what I created here is a variable called const button. and then I set that variable to be equal to, look in the document, and get elements by tag name button. And then what this does, get elements by tag name button, this creates a list of all the buttons, and this 0 means look at the 0th button, which is the first button. In computer science, we don't count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We start counting at 0. So if I had 3 buttons on my page, style.css, so if I had, instead of test button, if I had 3 buttons, let's say I copied this button. This is just to demonstrate this. Button 1 doesn't do anything. Button 2 doesn't do anything. This first button is called button 0, and it runs this JavaScript code. Okay, well now I have 3 buttons here. Let's make this work for the other 2 buttons. I'm going to do, const button, get element by name button, and I'll look at the first button. And let's say I'll do button 1, button 0. I'll say button 0, add the event blue. Button 1, we're going to copy the button 0 code. Be careful to make sure to change button 0 to button 1. And for button 1, we'll say add the event red. And then we'll make another button. I'll copy this code again. Copy, and we'll have button 2 and button 2. And we'll add an event to click on button 1 and click on button 2. And instead of red, maybe button 2 is green. So now I have button 1 is blue, I'm sorry, that's not button 1, button 0. Button 0 is blue, button 1 is green, and button 2 is also green. Okay, so I messed up a reference somewhere. Button 2 is getting element by tag. I made a mistake. It's getting the first button. So button 2 is still only getting the code for button 1. So it's overriding this button 1 with this button 1. We need to say, get the button number 2. So now the name button 2 is now going to refer to the second button instead of referring to the first button. So when I say button 2, add the event listener for green, now button 2 will be green. So now button 0 is blue, button 1 is red, and button 2 is green. You guys do me a favor. Create a dark mode, create a 4th button, and instead of naming them test button, maybe I go back to my HTML, and maybe I'll say blue button, red button, green button. I'll say green mode button, red mode button, blue mode button. And you know what else I'm going to do? I really don't like these default blue, default red, default green. What I do like is forest green if I could find it. I forget how they capitalize it. Forest green. Okay, it's working well enough. And in terms of red and blue, I'm going to use the RGB color picker. So I'll get a more neutral shade of blue, something that isn't so painful for me to look at. And this needs to be in parentheses, I believe. And let's just test that before we keep going. And it broke. It needs to say RGB. RGB. Now I have my blue buttons working. Let's do the same thing for red. I will pick a new RGB color instead of this red. So let me do a nicer, less painful to look at shade of red. I'll copy the RGB code, and then instead of the word red, I'm going to replace the word red with RGB, and then the color I picked. You guys do not have to pick the same colors as me. I picked colors I think look nice. You guys can pick whatever you want, and add a 4th button on your own. Practice doing this. Do a dark mode button, add a gray, okay, and say dark mode. I only added this to one page. If we wanted to, we can very easily add this to other pages. So I haven't cleaned these pages up since very early lessons, but maybe my favorite websites. Maybe I can go to my websites page. Maybe I could go to my video games page. I can copy these 3 buttons, I could put them onto I could open up my website page. So I copied the button code from the HTML. Now I'm pasting that button code into my website page HTML, and I'm saving. So now I have those buttons on my website page. They don't work though. I could add one more thing. Let me move I like my home button to be to the left of them. I'm going to move that over here so it's first. I could do one more thing to this to get it working. At the end of my body, I can just include that script tag. Script source equals background colors.js, close script, and now I think these buttons should work. And now I can get these buttons working on other pages without writing additional JavaScript code. That's the end of that lesson, and that's a little 11-minute JavaScript code button lesson. Good job.